Welcome to Handmade Happy Hour. Thanks for joining me. Today I've got 15 different DIY crafts to share with you, all in a blue and white theme. I'm doing some home decor, some wall art, and some really cool picture frame ideas. I've got some jewelry and some necklace boxes to do. I'm going to do napkin decoupage onto zipper bags and hats, plus some upcycling, and I'm even doing some napkin decoupage onto furniture. Let's get started with our Dollar Tree vase. Now this I made for a tea party at my child's school. I picked up these vases at the dollar store and they were not the right color palette, so I'm going to start off by painting them with white folk art chalk paint. This is my favorite paint for working as a primer. It just goes on so smoothly, and then you can napkin decoupage really well over it. I'm just applying Mod Podge over to the dry paint. And then I'm going to add pieces of napkin. I'm going to show you lots of different techniques in this video for how you can cut your napkin. For this vase, I just did a scissor cut, and I did the largest pieces as possible because I wanted to have the least amount of seams. But I am going to show you different techniques for feathering and things like that down the line in this video. Let's trim up some there. Just add some little slices when you get to those curves, and then just keep using your paintbrush to work the entire napkin around the vase and getting in all those grooves. I just absolutely adore how this one turned out. Now I'm going to take the rest of the napkins and work it all the way around the vase. So stunning. You would never even know that this is napkin decoupage on a dollar vase. Now I used that extra napkin to create some welcome signs for this little tea party that we had. Look how cute this turns out on the table, creating a really great coordinated look. Now for my little crayon and marker bins, I upcycled some plastic containers, used that same chalk paint, and then I decoupaged them with the same napkins. This was so perfect for a school event, so easy. This is one of my favorite projects, the spoon wall art. I'm using those blue and white napkins, some plastic spoons. I've got a cake board there. You could do this any size that you want. We're going to separate the plies of the napkin. I'm only using that top printed ply. We're going to trim down the napkin to fit the spoon size. And I'm just adding a little Mod Podge there to the inside of the spoon, placing the napkin down. You can see I'm just pressing with my finger and using the brush to work that napkin in. And then we're going to trim away any extra and go ahead and add our Mod Podge to the back and loop our napkin to the back side. Just going to finish that off with a little bit of Mod Podge and just smoothing that down to make sure it's secure. You can take your finger around those edges. Once it's dry, trim that off. You can use scissors, clippers, whatever you want. You can even break them off. Now you're going to want to put on a movie and make a whole bunch of these. So this was a 10-inch board here, and I'm just hot gluing them. You can see I traced a pencil line, did my hot glue, and I'm gluing them down all around the outside circle. And once you have that first row down, then you're going to repeat that process on the inside, but now you're going to go in between each one and glue another one down. So it does take a lot of patience for this project, and you do need a lot of spoons, but I really think it's so stunning when it's finished. If this wasn't really your thing and you wanted to do something like this but a lot faster, you could always spray paint all of these spoons a cool color. I glued a little flower there in the center. So gorgeous, ready to hang on the wall. All right, let's do some photo frames. This is one of my favorite projects. I love making over these very inexpensive wood frames. I found this sort of shibori tie-dyed napkin, and I'm going to use the Mod Podge. I'm painting it first with a white chalk paint. That is so that the colors of the napkin will really pop through. If I didn't paint it, you would get that wood grain. I always separate the napkins, and I always just use that top printed ply. If you use the other plies, you're going to get a wrinkly look, and you're not going to be happy with that. So next, we're going to add our Mod Podge to the front of these frames. These frames you can find at the dollar section many times. At Michael's, they have them. I think they have some at Hobby Lobby, and I've even seen them at Walmart. And of course, you can make over those frames from Dollar Tree. I've just placed the napkin right on top. I did mist it with a little bit of water, just a light misting, and that really helps with the wrinkles. Let's trim away our extra and trim away that center part. You want to make sure you keep that napkin there because we're going to wrap that around to the back side. So we're just cutting to those corners, and then you can see it there how it's going to flap to the back. We're adding more Mod Podge to the back. making sure that we leave those little hooks for adding our frame glass and image intact. We don't want to Mod Podge over those, but I'm using the brush just to really work it around that edge, adding Mod Podge as we go, and then wrapping the rest of the napkin around those outside edges too. The back doesn't always look that pretty. You can clean that up by painting the whole thing a coordinating color. And that's really important if you're going to be displaying this, so it's going to be seen on both sides. All right, now let's go ahead and do a mat. For this, I'm using some fabric. I found some tie-dyed fabric, and this is a pre-cut store mat, photo mat that you're going to pop into your frame. Let's add some Mod Podge just right there to the top of that mat. Place it onto the fabric. You could do this any kind of fabric you want. If you've got a Disney themed room going on for your kid, grab some Disney fabric. You're doing Star Wars, grab some Star Wars. You can see I'm gluing it on the corners and then folding each flap up, doing that same technique where we're going to cut in the center, and then we're going to use the Mod Podge to attach that to the back as well. Folding that back, adding a little bit more. And look how easy that is, and it's so great in a frame. Really fun way to make a coordinated look, even a seasonal look. Okay, here's another one. This is just scrapbook paper and a very simple frame. We're gonna go ahead and trace that onto our scrapbook paper. And then we're gonna go ahead and cut that out. I am pre-painting my frame, and lots of people say, why are you painting it when you're gonna put Mod Podge there? But I really do believe that sealing the wood with some inexpensive paint really helps the application. So I always give it a nice base coat, plus you get the edges. So just add your Mod Podge to the back of your scrapbook paper, place it right on top, and then smooth with your fingers. I'm really pressing those edges, making sure it's down. I'm going to use a craft knife just to cut away any excess there. You could also use a nail file to sand, and then I'm going to top coat the whole thing with more Mod Podge. This is such a great way to make over those dollar frames. Okay, let's do a little faux mosaic. Sorry if I'm going too fast, you guys. I just want to show you so many projects today. So on this one, I'm going to show you on a sample board. So I've got my scrapbook paper, and I'm just cutting it to look like broken china. That is scrapbook paper, but if you imagine breaking up a dish, that's what the look we're going for. And this is Mod Podge Dimensional Magic, and that's what gives it that glass-like finish. And that's going to be our very last step here. So basically, I'm going to cut my paper into some random pieces so that it looks like it is broken. And all over prints work best for this. And you can see here, I've got lots of different blue and white papers. All of these would work really great for this. We're looking for that sort of old china print. Think old dishes that are broken up. And later on, I am going to show you how you can mosaic with Mod Podge using actual broken dishes. So for this, let's just cut some random shapes. You can start by doing a square or circle shape and then go in and just cut it on different angles so that you can create that look of broken china. Give it a couple of snips. You can see I'm just kind of freehanding it to create some random shapes, much like a nipper would or a hammer would on a piece of plate. Now that I've got some pieces cut out, I want to show you how you apply them to the sample board. You can do this type of look on any project that you want. So for this, I'm going to use Mod Podge. And for all of these projects, you can pretty much use gloss matte or satin, unless I'm using a specialty formula. And when I am, I will definitely call that out. So for this, I'm going to go around the outer edge with a straight line, and you can see here on the box, I did sort of a curved line around the curved parts. I'm creating a little gap in between to create our faux grout look. So it's important to base coat paint your project with whatever color you want your faux grout to be. So I'm adding the Mod Podge to the back there. Just going to add a little coat, you don't need too much, and place it right on that edge. And again, this is so great for any kind of, you could do a party tray, you could do the top of a gift box, a jewelry box, even some wall art. Let's top coat it with more. And it's really that easy just to get that little piece of paper down onto your project. Now for the dimensional magic, you want your piece to be very, very dry. So I like to let this project dry overnight if I'm going to be using dimensional magic. Dimensional magic is a faux resin. You're gonna just gently twirl your bottle. Don't shake it, you don't wanna create air bubbles. And you're going to start just on the outer edge. I'm gonna let's release a little bit of that to make sure we don't have an air bubble, kind of prime the bottle, get it going. And then I like to work on that corner, or you can work on the edge. This also works on a pendant well. And you're just gonna go ahead and go over the entire little piece of blue. You're not going on the grout area. And that is going to dry and make it look like it's a piece of china. It'll have a raised glass-like finish. It's important that this step dries for 24 hours in a non-drafty place. You don't want this to crack or get waves in it. So if there's a fan blowing on it or you put it underneath an air conditioning vent, that is going to create some bubbles and waves in it. So non-drafty place for 24 hours, and then you will see that gorgeous glass finish. So you can fill in the center. If you get an air bubble, you can pop it with a pin. And let's take a look at that glass finish. So beautiful, look at that high shine. All right, I'm still making over these trucker hats. I can't get enough. For this napkin, it's the top printed ply. I painted around the edge of the motif with some water, and then I tore it out to create that feathered edge. This will look beautiful and seamless onto the foam hat. Go ahead and add some matte Mod Podge here. I really like the matte Mod Podge for this project. I'm adding it directly to the hat. It does take quite a bit because I feel like the foam soaks it in. Place your napkin piece down. Keep adding the Mod Podge to the back and to the top. Here is where you probably will use a little bit more than you normally would on a paper project. So just use your best judgment. You don't want it to be saturated and drippy, but you definitely want to use enough to get that napkin down. We are going to top coat the whole thing, so don't be concerned about getting all of it down the first run. Just make sure you're getting that napkin piece really glued down. You can see that I'm using my paintbrush to work the napkin down and spreading out those edges. The feathered edge, doing the water and the tear technique, really helps to create a blended look. Go in with your finger, press down, get those edges really sealed. Here for the sides, I like to make the motif look like it's coming off the edge, so I'm going to crease it there, and I'm going to cut that off, creating a hard edge, and that's what I'm going to use on the edge of the hat where the pink mesh begins. So let's just add our Mod Podge there. And again, you can use a little bit of a liberal amount here because it does seem to soak in a tiny bit. Go ahead and add our napkin piece. You can see I'm lining that directly up with the pink mesh, adding more of the Mod Podge. Now, if those napkin motifs were to overlap, that would be no big deal. It'll just blend together like you see here, and it really creates a cool look. There's the whole hat completed, and now we're going to top coat the whole thing with Mod Podge matte. For this, I'm going in one direction, trying to do smooth brush strokes going up and down. And I can do 1 or 2 coats here. That's a personal preference, but the more coats you do, the less you will see of that seaming. And that's it when it's wet. You can see it looks almost like china there also. And here it is dry, so gorgeous, so cute. It looks great with denim. All right, let's do some jewelry. I'm starting by painting a wood disc white. We're napkin decoupaging right on top of that, trimming away the excess with some scissors, and then we're gonna do that same dimensional magic on the top. Once it's dry, I glued a bail to the back, and then I'm painting the edge with some silver paint, and I painted the back too. For the beads, I painted the beads white. I used a skewer to secure the bead, and then I'm wrapping each one with a little bit of that napkin. I decoupaged around the whole thing, and once they're dry, I just added them to a chain. I love how this turns out. All right, let's make some jewelry boxes next. These are so easy to do. I'm using napkins. I found plain white jewelry boxes. I'm using Satin Mod Podge for this and a whole collection of blue and white napkins. We're separating those napkin plies as always. And then I'm going to trim it down a little bit bigger than the lid of my box. I'm only decoupaging the lid of the box. I'm adding a little Mod Podge to the top there, and then we're going to place our napkin piece down. Just placing that right in the center there and adding more Mod Podge to the top. I'm just using a light hand here. I don't want to tear the napkin. Let's cut each corner on an angle to create a mitered edge. And then we're going to add a little Mod Podge to those side edges and wrap that napkin to each side. I'm gently pushing down with my brush just to secure that down, and it's also adding a little bit of Mod Podge as I go. Let's trim off that corner, and then we're going to repeat that process all the way around the lid. Adding a little bit more Mod Podge just to secure that down. Get a nice finish there at the top. And we're just going to keep doing that until all of the sides are covered. This is such a fun way to make a custom jewelry gift box, and this is also great for seasonal. If you're doing holiday gifts and you want to do some Christmas napkins on there, this is so cute for that. And also if you are a vendor, if you sell jewelry, this is a really cool way to do some specialized boxes, whether you're giving the box for free or if you're charging for a gift box. So you can see there, I just trimmed away that edge to create a nice clean finish. And then let's top coat the whole thing with more of that Mod Podge. I'm only using a light hand here and a little bit of Mod Podge. You don't need too much at all. Look at all these gorgeous blues. You can finish these off lots of different ways. Here I'm doing some thick trim around there. Grosgrain ribbon works well here too. Any of that sparkly ribbon works amazing. This is a really fun place where you can actually detail these out. Really good for using up any of your scraps as well. So for here, we're just hot gluing that around. Got my little finger protector there so I don't burn myself. I've got some wood letters. I went ahead and painted them gold, and I'm going to glue those to the front. You could add silk roses here, small ornaments, any kind of little details that you want. I just think this is gorgeous. These would be great for bridesmaids gifts or if you were doing something as a group gift. So beautiful and such a fun way to present a jewelry gift. I don't know about you, but I'd love to receive a box like that. All right, let's do some zipper bags. These are canvas zipper bags. I'm using the top printed ply again. I've gone ahead and pre-cut my napkin to size. For this project, I am using fabric Mod Podge. It is my favorite with this canvas. This is a much thicker formula and it's completely designed for fabric. Once this is dry, that napkin is going to feel like it is a leather. It is absolutely amazing how this works. I'm spritzing it with a little bit of water, just a light mist, and then I'm going to place that right onto my canvas zipper bag. Now this is 100% cotton canvas zipper bag. This same technique works with the zipper bags and the fashion blanks that you will see for doing the printing. So it works on both different types. You just want to make sure your bag is a light colored bag so that you get all the gorgeous colors of your napkin coming through. I'm just pressing with my fingers, and once it's dry, it's so cute. All right, next up, let's do some upcycled jar bath salts. This can work on plastic jars or glass jars. You are going to use that folk art home decor chalk or any chalk paint of your choice. And I'm using some Mod Podge. We're going to go ahead and add Mod Podge to our jar. And of course we're doing napkins here. And of course it's just the top printed ply. So go ahead and really get that into the grooves. And then we're going to wrap our napkin around. You can lightly mist your napkin if you wish. Some people like the misting technique and some people don't. I do like it for most projects where I have a large space to fill. If I'm doing a very small, delicate section, then I don't generally mist my napkin. So you can see that we're using the brush to really get the napkin into the grooves of the lid, or I should say the mouth of the jar where the lid would go. And we're wrapping that around to the back side. To finish that off, a felt circle is perfect for the bottom of the jar. All right, I've got some Epsom salts here that I'm infusing with some roses from my garden and a little bit of oil. We're gonna get that all blended up. Rosemary's great here, lavender's great here. You can even just get store-bought bath salts. This is just a little homemade mixture that I do. Epsom salt, I infuse it with rose petals and I add some rose and lavender oil. Go ahead and mix that up. If you want to add these to the jar, just scoop it in and fill that up, and your lid will fit right on there. Okay, I told you about doing mosaic. This is going to blow your mind. We're going to use the Mod Podge Ultra here. This is a very, very heavy duty formula, and we are going to be breaking these dishes. I'm using safety glasses and a hammer, and don't worry, these were not expensive. I found these in the clearance bin at Walmart, so grab whatever plates you find at the thrift store or the yard sale. Find some broken old dishes. For here, I'm going to do a heart design. I just rough-handed a heart onto paper, and now I'm tracing an outline onto a pre-bought wood surface. Ultra requires a very large drop cloth. This is a spray bottle and it is very durable. I've got buttons here. I'm cutting the shank off. And this stuff's unbelievable. You're going to spray it and then you're just going to put your pieces down. You can see that pooled up. I'm starting at the bottom with a V shape and I'm going to work all the way around the outer edge. I've got embellishments like pearls, I've got buttons, I've got little flat-backed embellishments, and of course all of my broken china pieces. So we're going to just continue adding our pieces, filling in, and then we're going to add more of that spray. One thing that's important to note about this spray is that the nozzle will get clogged if you do not clean it. So once you are finished with your project, you need to remove the nozzle, soak it in warm water, wipe it down, and then you'll be good to go for the next time. So once your design is completely down, you're going to top coat the whole thing by spraying it with more of the Mod Podge Ultra. So that's it after it's been dried. And now I'm going to go in and add some more details. You can see I'm layering it up and filling in those holes. So for me, I like to do a two-part process on this. I do my whole base coat, let that dry for about 5 hours. Then I come in and I add more on top of that. So you can see I'm just adding more pearls, more embellishments, just to fill in any empty spots. I absolutely adore how this turns out. This hangs in my craft room still. To top coat the whole thing, you're just going to spray more of that Mod Podge Ultra. And I know you're not going to believe me, but it is really this durable and this strong. Now there's what I was talking about. You're going to soak that nozzle, wipe that down, and then you'll be good to go for your next project. So cute and so pretty how it turns out. I love this pink with the blue and white. All right, for this furniture set, I grabbed this furniture set from IKEA. We first painted it white. It would sure be easier if we found a white set, at a yard sale or something. It's a great makeover. We're going to do the top printed ply only, and we're cutting our napkins into strips. I'm adding the Mod Podge on the top there. For this one, I'm doing a little saran wrap on top just to remove any wrinkles. You just place that on top and smooth down. I'm seaming it almost like a brick pattern because I don't want my seams to be in the same spot. So I'm starting and stopping them at different sections so that we have different seams throughout. So I'm doing the whole top thing. You can see I'm using my paintbrush to get it in between the grooves there. Then I'm flipping it over and I'm Mod Podging those to the back. To finish off the back, you can paint the whole thing again on top of the Mod Podge. And we're doing the chair the same way. So easy and so cute. I'm topping the whole thing off with Mod Podge Outdoor. You could also give it a spray with some outdoor sealant. Okay, let's do another upcycle. This is a tin can. Tin can vases are my favorite. Clean out that tin can thoroughly, but these are great for flowers. I painted it with the white paint. We're adding our Mod Podge there, and we're going to just as easy as wrapping a napkin around it. All right, let's grab our napkin. This one I did not mist with water, but you easily can mist it with water. We're gonna go ahead and place it onto the tin can. And you can see that I'm gently smoothing with my fingers. I really love seeing those ridges of the can. It gives it that sort of homemade look, but I also love the idea of seeing that this is an upcycled project. Look how gorgeous this turns out. On the edge here, I'm gonna go ahead and cut that off with some scissors, and then I'm just adding a little Mod Podge to seal that, glue that seam down. Then we're gonna add more Mod Podge to the bottom, wrapping that napkin to the bottom. Again, you could add a felt circle here just to finish it off, or you could paint the bottom. We're gonna wrap that napkin to the inside. If you were gonna do fresh flowers with this, I would cut that napkin off at the top, but this is gonna be silks, so I'm wrapping it to the inside. I'm using a little foam piece there in the center, and I'm gonna add my silk plant to the inside. This is so cute on a coffee table, a mantle, a window. I'm top coating with a little bit more. So gorgeous. All right, let's do some birdhouses. I love making over these little mini birdhouses at the craft store. We're gonna use scrapbook paper for this. I'm using several different colors of blues, or I should say prints of blues, all different shades of blues. First, I'm just cutting each piece to fit the side or top or front of the birdhouse, and it's as easy as adding your Mod Podge to the back of the paper. This is going to be the roof design. I did do a pre-crease there in the center, adding Mod Podge to the back. I'm using matte here, but you could use matte gloss or satin. Adding that on top, and then I'm pressing really good with my fingers to make sure that it's secure and down, making sure those edges are down. Once that's dry, after like 15 minutes, you can give that a top coat if you wish. So cute for a little decor display. Thank you so much for joining me today for these 15 DIY blue and white crafts. They were so much fun to make. I hope you enjoyed them. Drop a comment and let me know what your favorite was. I'll be back here next week with another fun project to share with you. And until then, have a super crafty week. Oh, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell. Bye.